Lesson 5-8, Example 2. Our objective is learning to multiply mixed numbers. So here we have two mixed numbers being multiplied. 1 2/3 being multiplied by 2 and 1/7. Now because I have two whole numbers there, I have two things that are both larger than 1, my solution is not, in this case, even though I have fractions, my solution is going to be larger than what I'm starting with. So you do keep that in mind. I'm going to be getting something larger because I have numbers that are both larger than 1. But I'm going to still take these and convert them into improper fractions because that's going to be easier for me to deal with since I know how to multiply fractions together. So 1 2/3 is going to become 5/3, and 2 1/7 is going to become 15/7. And I'm going to go ahead and do my multiplication. So multiply my numerators together, 5 times 15. Multiply my denominators together, 3 times 7. And I end up with 75/21. Well, that's going to be larger than 1, and I can pull out 3 wholes, and I'm left with 12/21. And I can reduce that down. 3 is a common factor for both, so I'm left with 3 and 4/7. And that is a little bit larger than the two numbers I started with. So my solution to this one is 3 and 4/7. Let's take a look at another problem. Here we have 1 3/8 being multiplied by 2 2/5. Again, I'm going to convert this into improper fractions. So 1 3/8 is going to turn into 11/8. And 2 2/5 into 12/5. And I'm going to multiply 11 times 12 on the top and 8 times 5 on the bottom. And I have some common factors there. There's a 4 as a common factor of both 12 and 8. So I'm left with, if I pull that 4 out, I'm left with 2. If I pull the 4 out from here, I'm left with 3. That leaves me with 33, 11 times 3 on the top, and 2 times 5, which is 10. So 33/10, or 3 3/10. So I can use, again, I can still use those common factors there to help find a solution, simplify this before I end up with a solution. So let's take a look at how we might do this another way. Here we have 2 multiplied by 4 2/5. Well, there's a couple different ways I could think about this. I could think of 2 as 2/1. I could think of 4 2/5 as 22/5. And now I have a fraction multiplication problem. 2 times 22 is 44, and 1 times 5 is 5, and 44/5 would reduce down to 8 4/5. So I could go ahead and do it that way. But there's another way I can do it also. I can use the distributive property. And that distributive property, if you recall, says that I can pull numbers apart and multiply by their parts. So for example, let's say I have 2 being multiplied by 6. I could also think of that as 2 being multiplied by 3 plus 3, because 3 plus 3 is 6. If I do that, distributive property says I can say 2 times 3 plus 2 times 3. So I can distribute this 2 out to both of those 3's. So 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 plus 6 is 12. Now I'm going to go back to my original problem. 2 times 6 is also 12. So those match up. I can do the same thing with fractions. I can say that if I have 2 times 4 2/5, I can think of that 4 2/5 as 2 times 4 plus 2/5. Now I can distribute my 2. 2 times 4 plus 2 times 2/5. And 2 times 4 is 8. And 2 times 2/5, I'm going to think of my 2 as 2 over 1. So I end up with 8 plus, and 2, I'm going to multiply my numerators together, which is 4. My denominators together, which is 1 times 5, which is 5. I end up with 8 plus 4/5, or 8 and 4/5. And that is the same thing I came up with doing it the other method. So when you have mixed numbers, you can convert both of them into fractions and multiply and then simplify. Or you could use the distributive property to break that whole number apart from its fraction and multiply across and then put back together. Both methods are valid.